Question 8 is another limit problem. Again, this time, like question 7, they're giving us an equation to work with instead of a graph. So to do this, we're going to use our calculator. We're going to start by taking the equation that they give us right here. We're going to shove that into y1 on our calculator. From there, we'll go ahead and graph that equation. And then we'll go through the process of hitting the second and then calc button. And then from that menu, we'll choose number 1 in there, which is value. And then the value that we'll type in, it'll ask us for an x value, and the x value that we'll type in will be the x value that they care about in this problem, which is as x approaches 1. So that's going to be our x value we care about. And whatever the y value is that comes out of our calculator, that's going to end up being our answer if it gives us a y value. That's option 1 here. So we go ahead and pull out our calculator. And we go to our y equals section. And again, if you have one of the newer calculators, you can hit the alpha y equals button and then hit enter on number 1 there, numerator, denominator. That works on a lot of calculators these days, even if it's not the color ones. And then doing that gives us the ability to just quickly type in our equation exactly how it looks without having to put all those extra parentheses around it. So x squared plus 5x minus 6 goes on top, and then x squared minus 1 goes on bottom. And again, for those of you who don't have that functionality, anytime you're entering a fraction into your calculator, you just want to make sure you put the whole top in a set of parentheses. So open a parentheses to start, type in your equation, close that parentheses, and then do the whole bottom in its own set of parentheses as well. So x squared minus 1, and then close that parentheses. So again, whole top, whole bottom in parentheses if you're doing it without that other functionality. But we only need one to look at, so I'll just turn that one off and we'll graph just the first equation. So we've graphed it, and now what we want to do is go through our second calc process. So we hit second and then choose the calc option, which is really hitting the trace button. And then number 1 in that menu, which is value. So hit enter on that. And our x value that we cared about was that x value they gave us right there, which was 1. So we type in our x value of 1 and we hit enter. And again, just like on question 7, excuse me, it comes back blank. And so that doesn't tell us anything right now. It just told us that option 1 failed us. So what we do is we go back to the idea of, does the left-hand limit equal the right-hand limit? So we just need to test an x value that's going to represent the left-hand limit, test an x value that represents the right-hand limit, and if those y values end up being the same y values, then we know that the limit is that value, and if they're different, then we know for sure at that point that the limit does not exist. So again, I like to look at this as a number line and say to myself, there's my x value I cared about, which was 1. So as I approach 1 from the left, a value that's really close to 1 from the left would be something like x equals point, and then a whole bunch of 99999 like that. So x equals 0.9999999. So I'm going to go into my calculator again, and this time I'm going to calc the value of 0.99999 and see what my calculator tells me. So I hit second, calc, and again number 1, which is value, and it wants to know my x value, so I'm going to test 0.9999999 in there, and I go ahead and hit enter. And this time it gives me a y value of 3.5. So my left-hand limit is going to be 3.5. As I approach it from the right-hand side, heading towards 1 from the right, now I'm looking at an x value that I would want to test that would be something like 1.00001. So we'll go type in our calc value, and our value we'll type in will be 1.00001. So opening up our calculator again, and we go ahead and hit second, calc, and then choose number 1, which is value, and this time we're going to type in 1 point and then a whole bunch of zeros and a 1, and out of there I get 7/2. And so this is a good example of sort of showing you how your calculator sometimes can give you a fraction and sometimes can give you a decimal. Well, I want to know, is 7/2 the same as 3.5? So I just come back to my calculator, go back into the normal screen, hit second quit, and now I'm just going to type 7 divided by 2. And sure enough, that is also 3.5. So my left-hand limit was 3.5, my right-hand limit was 3.5. Those two things were equal to each other, so that's going to tell me that my overall limit up here is also 3.5. And I already did the math in the calculator to show that 7/2 is the same as 3.5, so our answer would be A in this situation.